Hey everybody, welcome to Master Agent Mindset. Today I have Aldo Martinez, past president of our association and current broker here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Berkshire Hathaway Southwest. We're here to talk about the mindset, talking about how agents can get out of their own way. So right now, with not much ado, I got Aldo and he's going to start talking about, well, to be honest with you guys, we actually started talking about this, but I didn't press record. So here we go again. So go ahead, Aldo, take it away.
Yeah, I think we started off last time with, do we have to talk people off the ledge, right? Do market conditions affect the mindset of our agents in today's marketplace? And when it does, how do you get them back focused on what it is that they need to do? And we were talking about task mastery, right? So identifying tasks that they actually need to do on a daily basis so that they stop focusing on the market and all the minutia that happens within a real estate transaction and stays more cognizant of the actual tasks that they need to complete on a daily basis.
Okay, so what you're saying is there's some kind of secret sauce if you're doing certain tasks every day to become a successful agent. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's not that it's a secret sauce, right? Because everyone's always looking for that magic pill. What's going to do it? It's like weight loss, right? So how can I lose weight laying in bed watching TV, right? Everyone's after that magic pill. Well, that one doesn't exist, right?
Are you sure it doesn't exist? Because, man, I would really like that.
Yeah, they say Ozempic's about as close as you're going to get to that, but for the most part, no. And that's what happens is that we look for that magic pill rather than understanding that there are certain things that we have to do every single day in this career as a business owner of a real estate company. And agents you are business owners of your own real estate company, and you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, am I worthy of writing a check to today for the work I did today? And the only way that you know that you are is if you have tasks that you need to do and complete every single day to keep you on track to achieving your goals. Once you can, you have no problem writing that check to yourself.
So how does that work? Can you write me a check? I mean, just saying. If you're writing checks to yourself, I mean, can
I don't
you
own
share
your
the
company.
wealth?
You own your company, right?
Okay, wait a minute.
Right? So you have to quantify the work that you're doing. And is the work that I did today worthy of a paycheck? Right?
Got it.
So if you had to write a check to somebody else and say, here, thank you for your work today, is what you did today worthy of that check? Okay.
So you're saying if I'm working every day, right? Mm-hmm. What you're saying is that would qualify me to feel good about a check to myself? Because I don't understand that, man. Can you give me a little bit?
And that's the problem, right?
Because I got a whole damn checkbook. It's about this big. Never use them. I could write checks to myself, but can you even do that legally?
You can do that.
Okay.
I don't know if they're going to bounce on you, but technically you can. So really what you do is you figure out, I want to make, $125,000, $150,000 this year.
Okay.
Right? That's going to take me 12, 15 deals based on the price point that I'm at. My average gross commission's about $11,000. So you factor those things in. So then you go and you look at, well, how many people or leads did I have to have, people working in my pipeline, to actually generate that appointment in order for me to get that transaction? We basically, we've stolen systems or borrowed systems from all different types of, master trainers that are out there. The one that I liked the best was probably the Mike Ferry organization, because Mike Ferry said, if you do this, and this every single day. Is that a selfless plug? He
said Mike Ferry on my show, baby. That's right, Mike Ferry. Go ahead.
Okay. So, we look at it this way. So if I have to basically be doing an appointment a week in order to actually get one person into contract every single month, and that will get me to 12 deals. And 12 deals is pretty close to the 15 that I need to get to, right? So I need to make sure that my goal helps me get that appointment every single week. Well, you backwards engineer from there. You go, well, how many leads do I have to be working, in a particular week in order to get an appointment? And then how many calls do I have to make in order to get that number of leads that it will eventually generate those appointments every week. So that way, when you walk into work every day, say, let's say I have to talk to 20 people today in order to generate 2 leads a day to go into my pipeline of people that I will follow up with in addition to my daily 20 conversations for my 2 leads. Then as long as I'm doing that every single day, right, I don't have a problem writing myself a check because I know that the number equation is going to pan out into my appointment a week and my 1 contract every single month.
Okay, so you're saying that if you're calling 20 people, or you're seeing 20 people belly to belly in some form or another, whether it's phone to phone, belly to belly, whatever, you're going to be able to anticipate what you've put down as your own goal. In this case, 120,000 or whatever, right? So let me ask you a question on that. Okay, you manage some really high producers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some big players, and
right.
Not just now, but you've had actually under your care, and I say care because you freaking care. You
Mm-hmm.
know, what could you say to that was the magic sauce between all these big, huge producers that you've had the privilege of working with over all these years? As far as what we're talking about tasks, I mean, what is the common denominator that you've seen with all of these high end, not just in income, but right. in production and paycheck?
Consistency. They're consistent every single day. Every day they come into work and they put in the hours and they do the things that they need to do to get them to the next transaction, right? And the bigger they get and the more deals that they actually do and the more money they make, their pipeline is never ending and people are constantly referring. So when we talk about a simple transaction to get to $125,000, that's because an agent's never made consistently $125,000 a year, and you have to put them on a specific task table in order to accomplish that so that they can see the success. But once you've been doing that for 5 or 6 years and you have that backfill of clients that you can talk to and have conversations and meet with, and they believe in what you do and they're referring their friends because they know that you're going to take good care of them, as long as you're doing that and then generating, because then you can start doing some more passive things, you know, mailing and networking areas and territories that you want to take control of. You know, maybe doing a little bit of social media, maybe an occasional billboard so that when you go into a listing appointment, they already know who you are. You know, I always laugh and people make fun of, you know, one of our agents at our organization likes to own all the shopping carts at Smith's Food King, right? So when you walk in there, you see him at every single shopping cart. I'm not going to say his name so we don't make this about him in a sense. But when he goes into a listing appointment, the people at that home feel like they already know him. But he's been doing this for over 30 years, right? So he has a great backfill of clientele. He continues to keep his face out there so they don't forget that he's still doing it, even if he doesn't touch them every single day. And when he does walk into an appointment on a new person that is cultivated through prospecting, marketing, networking, whatever the case may be, they almost feel like they have that instant connection.
Well, I know exactly who you're talking about. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're listening, brother, you need to change that picture. Man, I've seen that picture for 20 years. But you know what? More props to him because really.
Consistently, year over year, you know, he makes $500,000.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anybody out there that'll poo-poo on that. And he doesn't have to go super hard anymore.
I agree.
I remember sitting back-to-back cubicles with him back when we first started back in the 80s.
Wow. Well,
90s.
You know what? I was going to say the 80s.
Yeah.
Boy, you
90s.
out there, dog. But you know what? I could tell you something. There is something to be said about consistent name branding, all right? And as far as a picture, I think we're all falling guilty of using a picture a little too long. I know I did, like 6 years. But at the end of the day, putting yourself out there is a really good thing. And you're going back to what you said. You basically said that if you're consistent, you show up to work. And that doesn't necessarily have to be here at the office, does it, Aldo? Or
Well, if you can work at home, then that's perfectly fine. But if you allow the day-to-day minutia of home life interfere with work, then you need to get out of that environment. right? And I always think that when you surround yourself with other working people, it motivates you to work a little bit harder. Or when you feel like slouching or giving up, and you see somebody else still working, it'll kick you back, on track to where you need to be. So sometimes there's that thing, that synergy that you get from an office environment.
Well, I hope my wife isn't listening, but I can't do those honey-do lists when I'm at work and at home. And I have a home office, and I'm here to tell you, it's without fail, she'll come and she'll ask me to do something.
Yep.
Drives me insane because I have to be focused on what I'm doing. So no disrespect for all you guys and gals out there that are, at home doing your thing. God bless you. It's just for me and mine, that don't work. I got to come to the office. I got to get away from everything, and I got to concentrate.
Well, think about it too. When you work from home sometimes, right? Yeah. Sometimes you don't even shower. You get up out of the bed, you sit behind your desk, you go to work on your phone, you're doing your transactions, you're making your schedules, et cetera, right? You're not really ready for work. You just kind of are going through the motions. But when you wake up every morning, you get rest, you put on your power suit, right? You get in your car, you drive into the office, listen to some productive, motivational tracks or some music that actually pumps you up, and you get in there, you're ready to go to work. And if you get an appointment or someone that says, yeah, I'd like to talk to you today, you can immediately on the spot get your presentation and go hit it.
Well, I agree with you. I try to show up every day.
Yep.
There is something to be said about the mindset, Aldo.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of agents get totally sidetracked over little issues that they're having with a transaction. I've seen agents babysit the crap out of one deal and forget to do anything else. Then they close the deal, and then they got no other business. And then they're asking themselves, maybe I'm in the wrong place because I am not making money here. And the biggest thing I see is, and I've seen a lot over my many years in the business, but I see people come in and they'll babysit the deal, they'll change the brokerage, and then guess what? They find out that they're there now. That's the only real difference.
Yep.
Is now they're still not doing the business. Now they're over there not doing the business. So what do you say about that?
I don't know. Does an environment help you? That's, I think so in some scenarios, right? I mean, I always think that our environment helps agents tremendously, right? And the support that they get. But when I'm looking at agents that aren't making it and they're babysitting that one deal, that's a challenge, right? Because if you were generating enough business, you don't need to babysit that one deal. You basically ask your escrow officer, let me know when something, there's a couple of tasks that you have to do. But then for the most part, it's on autopilot if you're doing things the right way. You have an assistant that'll basically, or transaction coordinator that handle the paperwork minutia, and you're still staying nose to the tasks that you have to do every single day to generate that next deal. And that's what you see with top producing agents. They have so many deals that are running at one time. They immediately, once they put that person into contract, hand it off to the next person on their team, whether it's a transaction coordinator, whether it's the escrow officer, whether it's their administrative assistant, whoever handles that next phase of the transaction. And then they just touch base from time to time, but they're working 6, 7, 8 deals. And if one falls apart, they pick up the pieces with it, they put them back into contract on something else, and it's not the end of the world. So they're able to handle that mindset a lot better than the agent that is doing 1, 2, 3 deals a year, and it's their life mission to get those 2 or 3 deals done.
Yeah, well, I'm here to tell you it's easy to get sidetracked, and I think most people watching will agree that that there is chaos that comes into a person's life, right? And from my experience, it's been like every 3 months. Something goes wrong, something happens, and you're just sitting there looking at the mud. You're just like getting it off your eyes and your face, and you're like, what the heck? You get hit by a truck, right? And you're like, now what? But I'm here to tell you, if you're in a situation where you just got hit by the truck, and you're in a situation that you're getting up and you're just kind of wondering, what the heck, what am I doing? What's always worked for me is to take that shower, get dressed, go to work, and put my mind back into what I do. And once about halfway done with a day, I notice that I start getting back my mindset. I start getting back the eye of the tiger, if you would, the reason why I'm doing what I do. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the day, I feel a lot better. And even though I got hit by a truck and it freaking hurts, you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, how did that freaking even happen? You're at least able to move on because you realize that life does happen. And at the end of it, you're still there and you still got to perform and provide. What do you say to that?
I agree with it. I've been fortunate, and I think most of us, this happens. We don't get hit by a truck in our bed, right? So nor do we get hit by a truck when we wake up in the morning. We get hit by a truck during the day when something happens, that's catastrophic or whatever that we think is catastrophic. I call them meatball problems, right? Because at the end of the day, everything is solvable until the day that you die, right? You can't solve for death. At least not yet, we can't. But everything else we can solve, we can work around or do whatever. I used to have, and I still have the same issue. It happened when I was in the military, and I used to recruit for the military. If I lost a recruit that didn't make it through what we called the Military Entrance Processing Station in MEPS at that time I always blame myself. It was something I didn't catch on the medical or on the background or whatever the case may be. I set the kid up for failure. I didn't produce it right. It's the same thing in real estate. If a transaction falls apart or this or that, then I didn't do something. I got to figure out what happened, and I'm constantly analyzing. The one thing that I do is I disengage from that day because I'm not going to plow through it. And for many of us, we don't plow through it. And all we do when we try to plow through it is actually blow up or mess up more things, right? So I have the fortune that I can go home, right? Maybe smoke my cigar. That's my vice, right? Smoke my cigar, have my little rum, have my little whiskey, whatever the case may be, sit in the backyard and then go to bed. And once I go to bed, the next morning when I wake up, I'm on reset mode. It's a new day. I don't know what it is this ability to just basically just reset overnight and it's over. I don't think about the person that pissed me off or the one that wrecked the deal or the deal that went sideways or the client that blew up on me or the agent that wants to control the transaction to the point where it's driving you insane. It's a complete reset. It's a new day and it's like a new person and I don't hold anything against it.
So what you're saying, Aldo, is sometimes it's better just to disengage, go do something else, walk away, do what you would love to do. In this case, smoke a stove, and get a little cognac and
go to the gym.
The gym.
Go to the gym. Go to do a workout, right? Maybe you like mountain biking. Go get your bike and go out ride your bike. Maybe go home, hang out with your dog. Take him for a walk, whatever the case may be. Spend some time with the wife or with the kids, people that bring good positive energy back into your life, and just reset, right? It's okay. In life, we call a successful year, especially in real estate, if we can have 240 to 260 successful days. That allows for 40 days of vacation and allows for at least, a few days of I needed to reset.
Well, I got a question. What do you define as a good day?
A good day is a day I completed my tasks, right? I got to write my check today. Did I do the things that I set out to do this morning? Did I have my schedule? I have the tasks and the things that I need to complete. That's a good day for me.
I like that definition, Aldo.
Well, a couple things and a couple points on on your comments were. So I think that in today's society, we get too caught up with winning. And we look at everything as a competition and a win. I have to win this and I have to win that and I have to win that battle, whatever. And we forget what our job really is. Our job is to get our consumer, our client, what they want. And agents are really afraid of this, but not the successful ones. Agents are really afraid of their clients thinking, oh my God, that was so easy, I could have done that myself. See, when a client thinks, oh my God, that was so easy, I could have done this myself, I didn't need a real estate agent, that's when you truly succeeded in a real estate transaction, because it was so effortless, so smooth, and so easy that to them, anybody could have done it. But be secure in who you are and be confident that there is 17,000 plus out there that don't do it that way and put their clients through roller coasters and painful transactions that they go, oh my God, I'm never doing this again. Think about what's the worst thing that you like to buy as a person ever. And I would say a vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Buying a car,
That's
hate it.
It's a tough experience.
I got to tell you, less than a month ago, helped my kid purchase his new truck over here at that Desert 215 Dodge Chrysler. In my 59 years of life, and probably, let's call it 35 of those buying vehicles, that was absolutely the best vehicular transaction I've ever had.
Really?
It was so smooth. We were in there by 6:30. We were out there by 9 o'clock with it signed, done, dealed at the price we wanted, under the terms that we wanted, the whole 9 yards. It was amazing. I would go back to that dealership again. And I now don't have that mindset of, oh my God, I hate buying a car, because it's always been such a battle with everybody. So think about that when you're doing a real estate transaction. Is the real estate transaction such a battle, right, that you don't ever want to go through that again, or at least not with the person that you just went through, right? You know, because at the end of the day, look, a husband and a wife or a family buying a house have enough of their own internal turmoil to deal with in purchasing a home. In some real estate purchases, it drives them almost to divorce.
Oh, yeah, I've actually seen
Right?
that.
It drives them almost to divorce. So why are we trying to basically convolute that and make that an even bigger mess than it already is for them? What we need to do is solve issues, solve problems, make it seem seamless, easy. Don't worry. We can take care of that. We can fix this. We can, right? Solve for their problems. Become a great mediator. Don't bring them into the, you know, like the conversation. We like, oh my God, the agent on the other side is being a complete jerk and this and that, and you don't know what they're trying to do to you, and the seller is this and that. You're creating adversarial situations. You don't get paid to create adversarial situations. You get paid to make a smooth real estate transaction happen so seamlessly that you almost seem worthless. And when you do that, you have actually done your job well.
You know, although I got to give you credit, brother, because the truth is, what happens with agents that I've seen is they become superheroes, right? And we're not in a good way. That they want to prove to their clients their worth. So they'll try to find any way possible to go back to their clients, even on dumb things, to say, look what I did. And I can't believe they were thinking this and doing the other. And then guess what? I solved it. I said this and I said that and I did this, and no way is that.
You talk about the mindset, and in that same conversation, that's all about the mindset of the agent. See, the mindset of the agent there is they're afraid to go back to their seller with a presentation because they didn't set up clear expectations. They didn't set up the proper mindset of the seller, right? The proper mindset of the seller is understanding all of the processes that they will go through in a real estate transaction. First is negotiating the contract. After you negotiate the contract, we're going to have to negotiate repairs. Right? After you negotiate repairs, we're going to have to make sure that the appraisal comes through if it's financed, right? After we have the appraisal, we're going to have to make sure that when the buyer does their walkthrough, the property looks to them in the same general condition as it did when they made the offer. And in between there might be some other stuff, you know, title issues and things that if you set the seller or the buyer up for clear expectations of what the processes are, then you shouldn't be afraid to present it. I get a home repair request, a request for repair, I monetize it immediately. You know, we have some great people, thank God, connections with this organization that we can send a inspection report with an itemized request for repair list to contractors that within an hour and a half, they'll have it back to us, bid it out completely item by item. See, once you monetize it, you take all the minutia and the fear factor away, because what happens with sellers and what happens with buyers is that they just see this laundry list of things that the home inspector might have put on there that the home inspector is just making them aware of. But you take it to a contractor, they monetize it, and they go, oh my God, that's only $1,200. Okay, well, that's $1,800. Okay, that's $2,000. Okay. And then now when you're dealing with the seller, it's a $2,000 negotiation, right? It's not this unknown. If you don't get it, right, if you don't get that type of request for repair that's monetized, then you have to be able to monetize it for your seller to avoid those conversations and the conflicts. You even said, I get an offer and the agent says, why are you bidding at $5,000 below, or why are you asking for closing costs, or whatever the case may be? Better position for them would be, hey, Pedro, thank you so much for your offer. Talk to me a little bit about your buyer's needs and the closing costs, et cetera. What is it about those that's necessary for them? Do they need a full 5,000? Where is some play? Try to figure out what you can, so that when you're presenting it to the seller, if they think that they're going to counter it, you'll be able to explain why they're asking for this or that. A lot of times it's the buyer doesn't have any money, right? You're asking closing costs, or the buyer needs this interest rate to qualify for that purchase amount, right? So there's a lot of things that come within an offer that isn't always just trying to beat up the seller. Have a conversation, right? We're all humans, and you know what? You might develop a friend in the transaction.
Well, talking about friends, what's been interesting is, in my career anyway, when you treat people with respect and you walk them through the process without giving them all the drama, then what ends up happening is they actually become raving fans. Mm-hmm. And so they start telling everybody how great the transaction was. And that is part of being a competent professional, making them feel good about themselves, but developing a relationship with this person that goes further. All right. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be best buds with everybody, and nor am I. But when I call my clients, they answer their phone. And I don't make it a point to call them like every week, every month, not even every 4 months. But I make it a point to a couple times a year, maybe 3 times a year, to give them a call so I could let them know I'm still in business, mm-hmm. right? And then what ends up happening is they appreciate the call, and it gives me a chance to follow up on it. I keep decent notes in my CRM. I say, hey, how's your boy? Last time we talked, he was in Little League. I mean, is he still doing that? Oh, yeah, Pedro, this is what's going on. I got him in. He's like lead pitcher now. I can't believe it. He's doing great. Oh, well, that's good stuff. But let me ask you a question. Is that house still meeting your needs? You still good with it? Yeah, it's a great house. I'm good. The mother-in-law is going to move in, though. And then the nice pause that all guys have to have, that moment of silence. Oh, yeah? Well, what do you want to do? Well, I was thinking to calling you because maybe I need a mother-in-law's quarter or something, or, I don't know what to do. Well, I can tell you what, I will send you over a bunch of properties that have mother-in-law quarters that are detached from the house. So a little like a casita situation. Oh, well, that's a good idea, Pedro. Yeah. Well, let me just send that over. But then without pushing it, now you've made a relationship. They feel comfortable telling you about what's going on in their lives. And then all of a sudden, a possible deal goes in. But I never call them with that in mind. It's not, when I do my follow-up, I'm not calling them saying, hey, give me business. I'm calling and say, how you doing? What's going on? And reminding them that I'm still in the business, which helps my mindset because it reminds me of past victories, gold mm-hmm. medals, if you would, mm-hmm. So what do you think?
Yeah, follow-up is the number one key to success, right? You could be in lead generation your entire career, and if you don't follow up, you're going to be in lead generation your entire career. Remember, 2% of the population will make a decision on the initial contact. The remainder of the population makes their decision between contact 5 and 12. right? So when we're looking at these things, that's what we're trying to figure out is how many times can I follow up? And it's the same thing even with your past clients. You follow up with them regularly. You know, when we started the conversation, we were starting the conversation on mindset and the markets and things that happen, right? Because are we having to talk agents off the ledge right now? Yeah, well, this is just another market condition that we work through, right? It's no different than any of the market conditions that we've worked through in the past. I mean, when you think about 2007 and 8, right? You look at that time frame when houses plummeted 51%.
Wow.
Right?
I remember that.
51%.
I had a McMansion.
You couldn't.
Gone now.
Yeah.
I had one.
You couldn't build a house for what they were selling for.
Right.
Right?
I remember. Yeah.
People were freaking out. But did some agents have some of the best years of their lives?
Yeah, they did.
They did. Right? Because they kept the proper mindset. I remember our own brokerage during that time frame. So we were at our old location over in Central Point. And because we're always talking about prospecting and we were following Mike Ferry type processes and making sure that we make our contacts every single day. And I remember the agents coming into me, it almost felt like a mob mentality. They were like pissed off and they're going, oh my God, there's no listings to sell. And I go, what are you talking about? There's no listings. I mean, I see listings selling every day on the market. They go, no, but these are unsellable. And they're, you know, everything that we're prospecting. I go, well, who are you calling? And they go, well, the owners. And I go, well, they're overpriced. You can't get them out. It's a short sale. I go, who has the sellable listings? They go, well, the banks do, but they won't talk to us. And I go, well, because you haven't had them experience what you can do for them, or you haven't actually had them warm up to you yet, right? Because we used to get back then, a lot of times, you know, you get the REO banks that would turn around and say, hey, don't call us, we'll call you. We got enough people, et cetera, et cetera. But once you were able to pull their heartstrings and make them understand that you're a real person, then you got an opportunity. But what we were doing back in those days was just looking for opportunities. Who has the sellable listings, right? And that's what you go after. Well, back then it was financial institutions. So we worked our way into getting almost every contact that we possibly could, shared it around the office amongst all ourselves, and that's how we actually thrived and had success in that time. Well, it's the same thing with every market. So like right now, you know, they talk about, all right, so there's 21% less transactions since and they compare it to 2019, not to the high, because they look at 2019 as the benchmark because that's pre-pandemic.
Pre-COVID.
Pre-pandemic, right? So we have 21% less transactions. Okay. I remember in 2007, December of 2007, this whole valley closed 697 transactions, somewhere in that neighborhood, 697, 700 transactions for the whole month of December. I looked at it and I said,
what year was it?
This was 2007.
7?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So when I looked at that number, I go, oh my God, we're in trouble, right? Think about it. Back in that time frame, we were closing 4,000 to 3,500 deals a month, constantly, pump, 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 pump. And here we come up to December, and I go, what the hell? That wasn't a seasonal adjust. That was, we hit a wall.
Right.
And it went straight down from there. And then you saw Indy Bank go under. That was the first bank that went failure. And then, you know, the Sherman Lehman Brothers and the other banks that started to fail. Yep.
New Century, Option
Yep.
One.
Boom, boom, boom. And now people started panicking and, you know, totally fearful. But guess what? The good agents with the proper mindset said, hey, look, I understand one thing in the industry that I'm in. Everybody needs a place to live in. Shelter and food are two of the primary needs of every person. My dad told me that years ago, right? Maslow's hierarchies of needs. I got to have shelter. I got to have food. So when I look at that and I think of markets, you know, Mark Stark used to say it the best way. You know, markets come and markets go. You have to continue to work through it and figure out where it is that you want to go with that market. So that's where I talk about the tasks. You got to have tasks that you do every day. Who has the sellable listings in today's marketplace? Well, hey, if you look at the 450 and under market right now, it's on fire. Multiple offers, people competing for it because that's entry-level home. You're seeing people buy homes that you wouldn't buy. But it's not our choice. They've made the choice. They understand, they've come to terms, but they need that shelter that they have to have, right? that is a necessity for them. And they're going to make a purchase. So if you know that's where the market's at, you better figure out a way to work into that segment of the market. Those are the sellable listings. Those are the sellable buyers, right? Where's another market segment that's doing very well? Hey, the luxury end. Everything above $1.5 million is doing absolutely phenomenal. Why? Because people with money never deprive themselves of what it is that they want. So you're either going to work for the 500 or 600 luxury transactions. Well, I mean, we did almost 1,100 or more during the good times here, where before we only used to deal with about 280 luxury transactions a year. But you can go after those if that's what you want to work in that small pool, or there's about 1,800 transactions happening under 500,000, right? So look at what the market is telling you, and then create tasks for yourself to go after what the market is telling you. The only reason you have challenges and your mindset gets sour is because you focus on the lack of business rather than solutions to your business.
Amen.
Right.
I agree. And you know what, Aldo, look, at the end, what all you got is what's between your ears, and you got to control it. Controlling the mindset is 100% when the world's falling around you. Now, we don't know what these next few months after this hot market time, that we're in now, what's going to come, and who cares? Because I'm not going anywhere. This is what I do. I'm a real estate agent, loan officer, By the way, I love crypto. But this is what I do, and I love helping people. I mean, let's face it. It's not brain surgery, and we don't have to tell clients that their parents are in bad shape, or it's the worst thing is, hey, you don't qualify for the deal, or you didn't get the offer, right? But the beauty of it, watching the eyes of these people when they first get their home, it's always been a kick for me, and helping people through the process seamlessly, like you said, or as seamlessly as possible. That is amazing. So if you remember during the bad times that you had the good times, and what happened in the good times, you're going to be able to get through some of the rough times, right? And what are the rough times that are coming? I don't know, and I don't care, because I'm going to do tasks every day that's going to bring me and mine, the business, to move forward. Now, you may ask yourself, well, what is Aldo talking about as far as tasks? What kind of task does he mean? Well, I like Mike Ferry. He's a great guy, and I've been following him for years and years. And one of the things that I personally do, and I know Aldo has met many Mike Ferrians in his life, and it was because of him that I actually followed Mike Ferry, to be perfectly honest with you, which one day I'll share on a podcast one of these days soon. But if I come to the office every day and I call, and at this point in my career, I can call just my SOI and I'm straight, okay? But when, like in 13, when I was trying to find myself again, and I started making calls for 4 hours a day, just looking for people that wanted to sell their homes through the expireds and all that, it was a tough go because I wasn't used to it, and it took me 3 months to get my first listing. But after I realized that I can catch them fish, right, I realized that it's not as hard as I thought, and it was actually kind of fun. And so once I got used to accomplishing a task 3-4 hours a day making my calls, and a lot of you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, I am not calling 3-4. Okay, so call 2 hours a day, all right? And you'll see an improvement in your lack. So what do you mean by that, Pedro? Okay, let me give you an example. So let's say that you close 20 transactions in a year, you're a top agent, you're doing pretty good. But then now we're getting into some rough times, right? So now these 20 transactions, you need to make up for it because 20, what is it, Aldo? 27% less sales, right? What did you say?
They said 21%
right,
less sales than.
So that means that you as an agent may do 21% less. So let's just say 20. So you do 20 a year. So what's 20%? 4 less deals. But that doesn't sound like a lot, right? It doesn't. But wait a minute. How much money is that? if you're doing 10,000 in deal, just to use a round number, right? That's $40,000 less than your income.
But some people get affected more than the marketplace, right? Because the mindset takes them there, right? So although the market has only produced 21% less than from 2019 and 35% from the high that we were having after the pandemic, right? Some people allow that lack of production and that failure and that tough, or challenging condition to affect their mindset. So where it should only affect them by maybe 4, it affects them by even more.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. And going back, let me give you an example. So now you're doing 20 deals, 4 less, right? And those 4 less are now 40,000 less. Now your budget's affected. But here's the other part you may not think about. Now you got more time on your hands. And that, for me, is a freaking disaster. Because I'll sit there and I'll get in analytical mode. And Aldo's seen that analytical mode every freaking October, almost like clockwork, where I have to go through all my numbers and make sure what's going on, even though it makes 0 difference almost. And I've actually tested that. I did 1 year where I didn't do the numbers, and I did the same numbers the following year. But anyway, here's the point. A lot of you guys change brokerages. Why? Because you think it ain't me, it's them. Oh, if I just made more money. No, it's not. As a matter of fact, probably the worst time for you to leave a brokerage is when you're doing poorly. Probably the best time to leave is when you're leaving with a good reputation, with lots of closings, and you're going to better yourself in whatever else you're going to do. But don't do it when your production's down, because, man, now you're going to have to explain to all your peoples how this supposedly great company you work for isn't so great, and you went to XYZ company, right? What is that going to do to your mindset? Think about that for a minute. Here, now, your production's gone down 20%. You've lost $40,000, and now you're going to have to explain and spend money to let everyone know, or your broker is, that you went to another company. Or even worse, you started your own company. Now you're playing broker during a downturn. Oh boy, enjoy that. So don't do that. That's just some me to you. Don't do that. Leave when it's high, not when it's low. All right. And I'm here to tell you that the way to make up for that 20% is to do exactly what Aldo was saying. And what is that? To do tasks that are going to bring in business. So I'm going to leave Aldo with this note so he can address that. What you've seen a lot of Mike Ferrians come and go, right? And this isn't a Mike Ferry show, all right? But it is. We will pay homage to a very really good guy, in my opinion, and that helped our industry in many ways, and just teach us to, it's okay to call, right? And gave us techniques and scripts, but from your experience over these many, many years of knowing Mike Ferry, even more than I, could you tell us what differences have you seen in confidence, et cetera, from agents that do actually get on the phone and make those calls?
Well, I think the one thing that I've realized over the years, that I cannot turn everybody into a phone caller. They just won't do it. So I got to find out what it is that person is willing to do and help them do more of it, right? The great thing that you learned from the Mike Ferry organization and from the processes and training is that whatever it is that you do, it has to be an active process. It cannot be a passive process. So if you're sending out letters and you're waiting for people to call you back, that's a passive process. If you're sending out letters and then you're calling to follow up if they received it, and if they are thinking to buy or sell a piece of real estate, or if you have a buyer for that area and are they thinking about selling, right? Then that's an active process, whatever it is. Maybe it's open houses that you'll do. Maybe it's going to social events. Maybe it's talking to attorneys. Maybe, who knows what it is that you're willing to do. But whatever you do, as long as it's active and you do more of it, right, that becomes your task list for that day.
Great.
And as long as you stay on course with that, you should always have great years, right? There's no reason for you to have bad years.
I think it's a matter of, Aldo, and just, we can wrap it up, after this, but I'll give you the last word. I think what really it boils down to? It boils down to with the tasks that you select for yourself, you do on a consistent basis to be able to either, like in this downturn that I think is possibly coming, but I think it's coming, right? Not to be negative, but I think it's coming, is to do things. I can tell you that I've met some studs in this business, and one of them was a she, unfreaking believable. And I won't say her name unless she comes on the show, and then I'll say her name. But this gal, she would go for the high-end market. And she would do some of the best marketing to a certain demographic, certain area. She wouldn't deviate. She'd just go to this little area. She would know every house. She knew how, she mailed them on consistently. All right. She did everything she could to be in their face. And she got a good percentage of these high-end properties. But she didn't do it by calling. She did it by constantly mailing and holding open houses and her farm. She was a stud, is a stud, okay? And so I don't want to make it sound like on this show that it's all about, calling on the phone. No, it's something that I've done that has done very well for me. But there are many different ways. I've come to realize that only in the last couple of years I was kind of I drank a lot of that Kool-Aid, if you would, with Mike Ferry. But now I've seen other people do some stupid amount of business, respectable money being made, that I've kind of been converted that, yeah, there are possibilities. May not be for me, but may work for others, okay? So, guys, I'm going to give Aldo the last word, and I just want, Aldo, we appreciate you coming in. You're a stud, all right, in the business. So why don't you give us the final?
I'm gonna rehash what you just said there. The thing that made that person successful was she was consistent every single day, every single week. I remember getting her reams of letterhead paperwork so she can send those things out, and it was consistently in their face. That's the consistency, staying on task, day in and day out, doing the open houses because that's the way that she preferred to communicate, doing her social type of work as well as getting face-to-face. So today, if you get anything from this show, right, understand that you have to be consistent in whatever it is that you do. You have to establish a task list of things that you must accomplish on a daily basis to achieve the goal that you want. You've got to backwards engineer that task list to understand how many of those tasks does it normally take you to get a lead, to an appointment, to a contract. Once you know that, then you'll know if every day you've had that successful day where you can write yourself a check and say, I've earned my keep today.
Well, thank you, Aldo. On that note, we appreciate you, buddy. We know you're a stud, and thank you for being on the show.